Alright, so I'm in location number 3 for my little haunted Gettysburg tour here. And this time I'm here at the location of what's known as Pickett's Charge. I parked up on Confederate Avenue by the Virginia Monument. And of course they have some fences and cannons behind me. A lot of people died here in Pickett's Charge. This was July 3rd, the last day of the battle. This is kind of known as the what they call the high water mark of the Confederacy, because this was the last charge. Pickett's Charge gets a lot of criticism in the history books. Even the one park ranger up there, I was listening to him talk, he was just berating General Lee, who was in charge of the Confederate forces and stuff. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what happened here first before we get into some of the haunted stuff, if you're not familiar with it. But this is the third day of the battle. Of course, a lot of people, tons of soldiers had died already, but Robert E. Lee, the general, the Confederates, because the Confederates were on this ridge, the Union soldiers were on the ridge across this little fields and stuff, and he sent, a bunch of men across these fields to attack the Union line, the center of the Union line up there. It failed in the end, and it's received tons of criticism. I guess I heard it up there as well. But what would have happened if it had succeeded? The problem with history, especially when it's difficult for us to look at history from an unbiased perspective. If we're on the winning side, we look at everything that our actions were as glorious and wonderful, and the enemy's actions were all horrible and stupid and evil or whatever. And we're very biased in the way we view things. Like someone, that park ranger up there, I don't know his name or anything, but what he was saying was very biased from a northern perspective. And I'm not choosing sides here. Like I said, when I try to come to these places, look at history, I try to come from an unbiased perspective and try to research things that way. So I'm going to talk about what could have happened here if things were just a little bit different. So like I said, this charge took place. It took place at 3 in the afternoon. I think about 15,000 Confederate troops marched across these fields, which I'll show you later. And the reality is they actually broke through the Union lines up there at a place called the Angle, and they actually started turning the Union cannons to the side to start firing on the Union soldiers. But unfortunately for the Confederates, there was some Union soldiers in reserve that came up to supplement the forces that were being attacked, and those reserves were able to stop the Confederate advance right there. So that's often what you don't read in the history books, is the Confederate lines, they actually broke through the Union line up there. It wasn't a total failure. In the end, it was a failure, but they actually broke through the lines. And something else they don't tell you in the history books, I've done a lot of research, and you can disagree with what I'm going to say, but this is what I've read, is that General Lee actually wanted this attack to happen in the morning of the 3rd, not at 3 in the afternoon, but it got delayed for, I'm not going to go there, was different reasons. And he wanted more than the 15,000. I think it was closer to 30,000 troops he wanted to attack. And those reserves, those Union reserves, were not there in the morning, that were there in the afternoon. So if things could have happened very differently, if 15,000 men could have broke through the lines, what could 30,000 men have done? And what if those Union reserves hadn't been there, like they weren't in the morning? So, like the Confederate attack had taken place in the morning with twice as many troops. Things could have been quite a bit different, actually. Just something to think about. So try to picture things differently. What would have happened if things went according to Lee's plan? Like the attack did take place in the morning with as many troops as he wanted to. And you can argue those facts. I think that's one thing I'd read in one book, that was his intentions. But what if he had succeeded? Like nowadays, this attack that happened here is looked as a total failure. Pickett, the guy in charge of it, is ridiculed. Lee is ridiculed, just like that park ranger up there was ridiculing him. But what if they had succeeded? What if things had gone according to Lee's plans? Then things would have been quite a bit different here. But that's kind of the way history is. Just something to think about. All right, a little bit, I'm going to go walking out on the fields a little bit. We'll talk more about some of the haunted stuff here. And I'll give you some different views and perspectives. So, like I said, it's always good just to try to look at history a little bit differently from an unbiased perspective. Kind of helps you sometimes. Yes, we're actually walking out across a section of that battlefield, of that charge. We'd be walking towards the Union lines at this point if I was a Confederate soldier. Probably wouldn't, if I was at this moment, I wouldn't have high hopes, I don't think, because you're walking all across this open ground. You know, you're being fired upon by cannons and sharpshooters and all kinds. You know, men falling down either side of you. Wow. And looking back, up there's the Virginia Monument where we parked, and up there's where I was earlier talking with you. That's supposedly the location where General Lee met his troops that were left as they came back. So there's some other guys up there talking. So I kind of made my way down a little bit. They have a little trail here, so I'm gonna keep walking a little bit more, I think, because the Confederate troops are making their way up to that ridge on the backside there. And what slowed them down a lot, because there's a number of fences out here. I think we'll walk up to one. That's what slowed their advance quite a bit. But man, to think, you know, to have been one of those soldiers, or even to have been one of the Union soldiers all the way up on that ridge, the other side. You know, even though, you know, they were, you know, saw these Confederate troops coming, they could, you know, shoot on them wide open. Still, being a Union soldier up there on that ridge and watching, you know, 15,000 men come marching towards you, that would have been scary too, actually. You know, in the end, it worked out for the Union, but, you know, either case, if I was a Confederate soldier or a Union soldier, I think I could still feel. If I was a Confederate soldier marching across here, I would have had, you know, some pretty, you know, intense thoughts. But if I was a Union soldier up on that ridge, like I said, watching the enemy, you know, 15,000 men coming towards you that's a lot of men, you know, and just not knowing what's going to happen, and wow, you know, like I said, just try to, when you come to places like this, just try to view history from both sides. You know, put yourself in the shoes of either side. Just gives you, I think, a whole fresh perspective, an unbiased perspective of things. But that's kind of hard to do sometimes, depending on which side you're on throughout history. Like I said, we're going to keep on walking up a little bit more here. I think there's one of those fences are up here, so I got to talk about the haunted stuff here too. I got some more stuff to tell you. Getting kind of distracted with the history, but I love history though. All right. Well, I've made my way down to where some of these fences are. The trail does continue on, but I think I'll stop here. We did start way up there. Like I said, up there's that monument, but like I said, the Confederate soldiers would have been marching across this field, trying to get up to the opposite ridge. Of course, these fences posed a huge problem. These are not original fences, but they kind of represent what probably was out here at the time, or similar to them. You know, yeah, as I was walking down the trail, like I said earlier, I was just trying to picture myself, you know, being a Confederate soldier. It's kind of difficult because it's so peaceful out here right now. You know, I hear a little bit of traffic in the background, but there's lots of insects, crickets chirping. You could probably hear them for quiet for a moment. You know, very different from what it would have been like out here. You know, there would have been, you know, cannons firing from either side, you know, shooting, all kinds of stuff. But it would have been terribly loud, smoke everywhere, screaming, all kinds of horrible stuff. But now it's just peaceful, so it's kind of difficult to really picture what it would have been like. All right, I'm gonna have a seat here, and we're gonna talk about some of the haunted stuff here. I gotta get to, this video's called Haunted Gettysburg, so I gotta get to some of the haunted stuff here. Yeah, so like I said, it is very peaceful out here. Kind of hear the wind blowing a little bit. Like I said, the crickets chirping and everything, but I'm not feeling anything haunted out here. A number of people have come out here and said, you know, they felt, especially cold spots out here, where it's, you know, during the summer they've been out here, they've come to spots where it's been freezing cold. You know, voices, sounds of battle, stuff, you know, the typical haunted things that you hear about here at Gettysburg. Even here people have claimed to smell like rotting meat and stuff. And in 1992 they made a movie here called Gettysburg, which I actually like that movie. I actually like the music from that movie. I used to have the CD in college. I would listen to that music while I was trying to do my college homework. It was kind of like battle music. Um, but even the actors that were here, or the people that participated, or in the acting or the filming of that movie, when they were using this field, a lot of them even claimed to have come across cold spots and other weird, things happening out here while they were filming, unexplainable things. So, I'm not gonna say whether that's all true or not. Like I said, I'm not really feeling anything out here. It feels very peaceful. So, but it is one of the haunted sites here. Well, supposedly haunted sites here at Gettysburg. It's pretty easy to get to. It's along Confederate Avenue at the Virginia Monument. That's where I parked. Like I said, there's a trail that takes you down to where I was earlier. And if you want to, you could come down even these trails. There's no one down here. I was up there at the other end of the trail, but more and more people kept coming. I like to kind of film when I'm by myself like this, so I can just feel free to talk, not with a bunch of other people looking at me. But you come down here, because this is a Friday, if you come here on the weekend, there's going to be a ton more people here. But anyway, so just another one of the haunted places here at Gettysburg. Whether you believe the haunted stuff or not, this is one of the haunted locations that people mention. So, like I said, it's really peaceful out here compared to the way it would have been back then. All right, well, I'm gonna pack my things up. I'm gonna head back. I think we got stop number 4 coming up. I think I'm going to the peach orchard next, which sounds like another peaceful spot, but there was a lot of horrible stuff happened there as well. So I believe I will see you there.